Good evening, I'm B. N. Nagesh. I'm a MA in Political Science and International Relations and Public Administration. So today we start our analysis of political science and international relations. We start with paper 1, section B. See, political science has two papers. Paper 1, section A consists of the concepts like rights, liberty, equality, justice, contributions of political thinkers, starting from Plato, Aristotle, going up to Marx. Then we have the ideologies like fascism, Marxism, liberalism. So the paper 1, part A is only the conceptual part, the theory part. Paper 1, section B comprises the Indian government and politics. So paper 1, section B has a lot of commonality with General Studies paper 2. So from today, when we have started an analysis of PSIR paper 1, section B, we start with an analysis of 2019 question paper. So the first unit which we take for discussion today is chapter 5, relating to grassroots movements. This syllabus is divided like this: Panchayati Raj, municipal government, significance of the 73rd and 74th Amendment, grassroots movement. This is the syllabus, or what shall I say, these are the topics under this particular chapter, chapter 5, grassroots movements. So today, starting today in PSIR paper 1, section B, we are going to analyze the 2019 paper. We are going to see what questions have come topic wise, unit wise in this particular paper. So the first question which we are taking for discussion today is on the 73rd and 74th Amendment. See the question for discussion. Political decentralization has not been matched by administrative decentralization at the grassroots level. Understand the question. See, the 73rd and 74th Amendment brought about constitutional status to the local bodies, that is, the rural local bodies and the urban local bodies. But political decentralization by itself is not enough. So the question can be analyzed in the following manner. You have to answer the question in 150 words. First, why there has been no administrative decentralization which should be commensurate with the political decentralization? What are the gaps at the grassroots level? What are the challenges faced because of lack of sufficient decentralization at the grassroots? The way forward, what suggestions will you offer? So this, if you keep this pattern, you will be able to answer this particular question in 150 words. Now you start with an introduction to the topic. We say how the 73rd and 74th Amendment brought about or ushered in constitutional status to the rural local bodies and the urban local bodies. I just give a brief introduction of 2 lines. So the 73rd Amendment brought about a three-tier structure: a Gram Panchayat, Taluk Panchayat, and Jila Parishad at the district level. Similarly, the 74th Amendment brought in a threefold structure of urban local bodies, starting with the town municipal council, the city municipal council, and the city corporation. Now, both the 73rd and 74th Amendments have got certain common features like a state finance commission, which is going to go into the task of devolution of funds between the state government and the local bodies, both rural and urban, a state election commission to conduct elections to the local bodies, and the district planning committee. This much by way of introduction. We go to the main part of the answer. As I told you, the answer we break up into 3 parts. What are the gaps at the grassroots level? What are the challenges faced? Then, what is the way forward? See, no doubt the 73rd and 74th Amendment brought in constitutional status for the local bodies, but there has been no commensurate administrative decentralization. By this I mean we notice three gaps, that is, the first one relating to funds, second one relating to functions, third one relating to functionaries. We start with the first one, funds. Now the local bodies are hamstrung because they have not got sufficient funds, they do not get requisite funds from the state government. The state government holds the purse strings, and the funds allotted are not commensurate with their functions. Of course, we have the State Finance Commission, which recommends devolution of funds from the state to the local bodies. But again, as I told you earlier, the recommendations of the SFC are not taken seriously by the state government. So the first important gap is sufficient funds, because the local bodies do not have independent sources of revenue, and even the urban local bodies you take. Town planning is again the prerogative of the state government. Town planning is the golden goose. Coming to the functions. Now the functions, the 11th schedule and 12th schedule have bestowed number of functions on the rural local bodies and the urban local bodies. But to carry out these functions, again as I said, funds are required and functionaries are required. By functionaries I mean who do not have any dedicated staff to carry out these functions. See, Karnataka is one of the pioneering states which introduced this system of democratic decentralization, and Karnataka has proposed a separate administrative service at the local bodies, for the local bodies, that is for the rural local bodies and at urban local bodies. Now, what is happening at present is that the local bodies are manned by deputed staff who come on deputation from the state government, who do not continue for a long time, and even if they come, they have they cannot work with the elected representatives, and they get pressure to get back to their original departments. So these are the three initial gaps which I discussed: the dichotomy between funds, functions, functionaries. Then administrative expertise. By this I mean, see, the state bureaucracy is not willing to allow the local bureaucracy to thrive or to come up, and they make the local governments, the local bureaucracy, act in a subservient manner to the state government. So administrative expertise is the biggest casualty. Another point which I would like to point out is there is a peculiar situation in which now the local bodies are manned by the elected representatives, and in many states like in Karnataka, the Jilla Parishad president has been given the rank of Minister of State. So the elected representatives demand perks, allowances, and they would like to claim more and more allowances and perks in view of their constitutional status. But one side we have the problem of funds to the local bodies. Funds are not enough. At the same time, you have got the added point of the elected representatives seeking more and more perks, seeking more and more facilities. This is the biggest dichotomy which we have noticed in the functioning of the local bodies. So these are the gaps at the grassroots level. Now, what are the challenges faced? Now we speak of the State Finance Commission. Now, you see the composition of the State Finance Commission, the qualifications of the commissioner, the members, they are not specified, and generally the State Finance Commission is filled by people, by retired bureaucrats who held, who have links with the government, and the SFC, the way it works. Similarly, the working of the State Election Commission. Here also, it is a haven for retired bureaucrats. Qualifications are not specified. So unless these two organizations, until these two constitutional bodies are sufficiently, the manner of recruitment is changed, we cannot expect them to act impartially and deliver justice. Then the next important challenge faced is the local bodies what they do, they now the SFC gives a lot of recommendations like raising the revenues of the local bodies. At the same time, it also gives recommendations on how revenues can be generated. See, what the local bodies are doing is they are implementing only the soft portion of the recommendations, that is more asking for funds, but they are not bothered about the question of raising revenues. Then there is no regular audit of the local bodies, leading to a lot of misappropriation at the local level. And now the local bodies are faced with the challenges of the newfound challenges of waste management, disaster management. Then these are the challenges faced by the rural local bodies and the urban local bodies. The way forward, what we suggest is see the seventh schedule. The seventh schedule has got a provision for three lists: union list, state list, concurrent list. So why not have a separate list for the local bodies called a local list? So this would see that the distribution of powers, distribution of functions, there is no hanky-panky, so that the state government cannot manipulate. You give constitutional status by giving a proper distribution of powers and giving sanctity to the distribution of powers. Then you make the Gram Sabha powerful, revitalizing the Gram Sabha and ward committees. Then the state governments, see, the state government should be held accountable for practicing or for providing a corruption free atmosphere. Now, in the state government, we speak of good governance, we speak of RTI, we speak of capacity building. All these things are not prevalent, or we can say that they are absent at the level of the local bodies. So, unless these three things are vitalized, that is, good governance, your RTI, transparency, all this should be provided by the state government. The state government should provide a corruption free atmosphere for the local bodies. Then now you have the Lokpal, you have the Lokayukta at the state level. There is also a need for an ombudsman at the local bodies, for the local bodies. Like we have seen in states like Karnataka, where when the audit of the MGNRGA was taken up, the Accountant General, the CAG pointed out the presence of ghost beneficiaries. So a lot of pilferage in government schemes, ghost beneficiaries, unidentified beneficiaries. All this can be tackled if we have an ombudsman for the local bodies. Finally, the what we would suggest, how to political decentralization, no doubt it has led to a threefold three-tier structure, both at the rural level and the urban level. Now this, unless it is coupled with administrative decentralization, as I told you, a proper, there should not be a mismatch between funds, functions, functionaries. Unless this thing is set right, unless the state government provides a corruption-free governance, unless the capacity building at the local level is strengthened, unless good governance is strengthened at the level of the urban local bodies, rural local bodies, unless you have an ombudsman at the entirely catering to the local bodies, administrative decentralization will not be complete. So this is how you would answer a question on political decentralization has not been matched by administrative decentralization at the grassroots level. To give a general introduction to the concept of democratic decentralization, speak about the 73rd, 74th Amendment, you speak about the structural changes it has brought about, then you discuss the gaps at the grassroots level, you come to the challenges faced in the working of the 73rd, 74th Amendment. Finally, you conclude your answer with the suggestions on how to make administrative decentralization a reality. So, attempting a question like this, you would cover the entire answer in 150 words. All the points should be covered on whatever we have discussed. So this is the first question we have taken in when we have analyzed the 2019 paper on the topic on chapter 5 grassroots movements. Thank you.